Hey everybody, my name is Hannah and I'm here with a finger puppet tutorial. We are going to be making Little Red Riding Hood. Now I made two versions of this, and if you want to see how I made this finger puppet right here, you can click here for the tutorial. So I had a few of these videos on when I first started this YouTube channel, and a few of you have sent me pictures of your finger puppets, and it's actually been really inspiring for me to make a new set of finger puppets for my kids. So I'm going to be making Little Red Riding Hood. So I have some felt and some wool yarn, a finger puppet base, and this little accessory here, which is a little pail. So I'm going to start by making the hair. I always start with the hair on any finger puppet, and this one got a little bit tangled, so I just cut that knot out, and then I started to cut lengths of hair for this finger puppet. So you also need a glue gun for this, and the felt that I'm using is 100% wool felt, and you can get it at achildsdream.com, and you can always use just regular felt at a craft store for sure. So I'm going to start by making 2 layers of hair, one on either side, or rather one layer, and then later I'm going to come back in and make it a little bit thicker. And so she's got her hair just split down the middle, but the back of her head doesn't have any hair at all, and that's okay because we are going to be covering it with a little hood later on. So here I am just adding a second layer of hair, and really you don't need to do this. I felt like when I was done, the hair ended up being a little bit too thick, and so if you just did one layer of hair, about maybe 6 strands, it's probably going to be okay, because you just want the hair to kind of come out from the little hood and just kind of come towards the front of her cape and dress. Okay, so once the hair is done, I want to think about making the hood. Oh, I forgot, I trim her hair. Actually, I'm going to trim it a couple of times because I think that it's too long. So I pull out the red felt in order to make the hood, and I really kind of struggle on how to make it because I don't want to make it like a bandana or like a little scarf the way I mostly do with my finger puppets. I really want it to look more like the hood that you typically see when you think of Red Riding Hood. So I kind of really struggle with that, and since I can't figure out how to do it, I move on to making the rest of her outfit, and I just let my brain think about what I am going to do with the hood. So I am making a few slits in the top here so that when you glue it down, you can fold over those flaps under her neck so that you don't end up with something that's just not flush with her, like the upper part of the finger puppet base. And then I just add a little bit more glue along the back, and it's okay if there's some gaps in the back because you're going to be putting another layer on this, and so it's okay that it doesn't completely wrap around. Okay, so I need to think about making the hood and the cape, and I'm just going to trim this off just a little bit just so it's easier for her to stand up straight. And the cape is going to be pretty simple. I'm not going to fiddle and fuss with this too much. I'm just going to slightly curve the base of the cloak, and then I am going to just glue it in place with the hot glue. And so I really love making these for my kids, and my kids love making them as well. And my daughter had requested a finger puppet and she wanted red, and I thought, well, let's make Red Riding Hood. But it turns out once it was all done, it wasn't what she really wanted, and so the next day we were making finger puppets again. Alright, so now I'm going to work on the hood, and I really struggle and think about this, and it does turn out okay in the end. I would just recommend that you make it a little bit larger than the way that I made it. I made it just barely big enough for her head, and also I was running out of red felt. I had just barely enough to do 2 Red Riding Hood finger puppets, and that was it. I only have tiny little scraps left. So I got a little bit too much glue on that, so I just kind of wiped it off with another piece of felt, and now I'm just going to check to see how it looks, and I really like the way this looks. This is looking what I envisioned the hood to be like. I just don't know how to glue the rest of it together and get it onto her cape. And so I'm going to fiddle around with this a little bit And then I'm going to glue those two flaps together. And then I'm going to trim it off here. And I kind of wish I hadn't trimmed the bottom off. The tops and the side, it's okay. I just didn't want the glue to show through. But the bottom part, I should have kept it a little bit longer, because at this point, I'm going to wrap the hood kind of under and then over. So I'm going to make it look as though the hood had been sewn to the cape. And so I'm going to put glue on the good side of this, or the outside rather, and then I'm going to try to kind of gather it together. This part was actually quite complicated, and if you have your kids doing these projects and they want to do one like this, then I would recommend that you help them with this part. My kids can do more of the simple finger puppets. This one was a little bit more challenging even for me. And so I'm just gathering that together and adding glue, and once the glue hardens, it really stays in place. I mean, I've had some of these finger puppets for years and years, and they are still holding up really well to all the playing that my kids do with them. And so once I get that in place, now I can just put the hood back over her and definitely glue it in place. Otherwise, if the cape or the hood falls off, you'll see some bald spots on that finger puppet. I kind of had to struggle to get this on because, like I said, it was a little bit too snug and too small, but eventually I got it in place, and with the hot glue it really will just stay there. And then I give her another trim. This time I tried to give her some layers, and I kind of wish I hadn't. I think her hair looked better longer. And then I'm going to also glue this pail in place. It's not really proportional. It's quite a bit larger than I guess you would normally have for a finger puppet this size. Oh yes, and I'm adding a little button to the front of her cloak. And then I'm just going to glue this little pail in place, and it's all done. And the side profile really looks like Little Red Riding Hood, except the only thing is that you might consider making the red cloak shorter than the white dress. I think that might be a little bit more authentic to what you typically see with Little Red Riding Hood, but I could be wrong. I think both probably are okay. And here's a little scene I created for my kids to play with both of those finger puppets. Okay guys, if you want to see a few more tutorials on making finger puppets, you can click here for that playlist. And as always, you can check out my website at pepperandpine.com. Okay guys, thanks for watching.